This is very similar to the way gold behaved when it first broke through 3,000. Yes, it wasn't a line in the sand where gold didn't go below 3,000, but it didn't go much below 3,000, and eventually it took off and then went above 4,000. I think we're doing the same thing now. I think we're forming a base right around 4,000, and before you know it, we'll be at 5,000. But meanwhile, a lot of investors aren't going to own gold for that ride because they're getting shaken out now because they're getting so nervous. But in particular, this is a time to be adding to the gold stocks. And if you don't have any gold stocks, well, now's the time to incorporate them. You've got a gift horse pullback, a dip, a pretty big one, as an opportunity to buy. I think gold is forming a nice base here at 4,000. Silver, it's not, at 50, but it ain't much below it. It's around $48 and change. I mean, it's holding pretty steady, very close to $50. It's not tanking back down to 40. So I think, again, this is another opportunity, just like when silver was around 30, and I was saying 30 is the new 20. 50 is really the new 30. I mean, yeah, you could buy it a little bit below, but for who knows how long. So buy yourself some physical gold and silver at Schiff Gold. The gold mining stocks, again, a lot of these stocks are now in bear markets. It is amazing how far off their highs most of these gold and silver mining stocks are, even though gold is almost 4,000, even though silver is almost 50. These stocks have lost almost all of their gains, since gold was, I think, 3,600, 3,700. Since silver was 40. A lot of these stocks are back down to where they were when silver was 40, even though it's 50. And they're just so scared because, well, it was 54, so it's going down. So what? It was 54 for like a day. I mean, if you took that 1 week out, we'd be at the high, right? I mean, where we are right now is, a month ago, this would be record highs for gold and silver a month ago. Yet there's so much bearishness among investors, and there's not nearly enough bearishness among crypto investors. They're completely complacent. They're happy as clip. They're not worried at all that Bitcoin is going down. They think it's on sale. Hey, it's $100,000. It's on sale. On sale, you're buying nothing and you're paying $100,000. The sale is on gold and silver, and where the sale is whatever you would buy if you just sold your Bitcoin up here. But people don't want to sell it so much that they're going to borrow against it, where they're gonna sell it. It's just going to be sold out from under them at a much lower price than if they just sold it right now. So get your gold and silver. If the crypto stocks are a leading indicator, they are getting slaughtered. Every stock that is any way related to crypto is way down. I mean, at least 40 or 50%, if not 60 or 70%. Even the leader of the pack, Strategy, hit a 52-week low this morning, and it was down 60% from its 52-week high. Now, it recovered. I think it closed down around 52% from that high. But this is the best stock, right? This is the poster boy for crypto companies, treasury company. And it's been cut in half in what's supposedly, the best environment ever for crypto, with the entire Trump administration behind crypto. In fact, Donald Trump, when he was on 60 Minutes this week, and he basically said that the only thing he cares about is that the United States lead the world in crypto. I mean, that's his main concern, right? According to Donald Trump. Yet despite all that, and he actually bragged on this show, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that he said on the show, but he actually bragged about how right he was on crypto and the crypto industry being so important and being so vital, and that, we must beat China. We can't let China win in crypto. I mean, China doesn't give a damn about winning in crypto, right? That's not even on their bingo card. They'll let us have that market. What do they care? Who wants to lead the world in decentralized Ponzi schemes and pyramids, right? That's an American thing. The Chinese don't want any part of that. And of course, a year ago was a great time to be buying gold and silver stocks, but I heard a lot of people talking about taking profits, selling. There was some worried people about the drop. Gold had almost hit 4,400, and they're talking about that big drop, and maybe it's going lower, which of course is what happens in a bull market. You get these violent sell-offs to scare people out. But the bottom line is gold's $4,000 an ounce. In fact, it closed the week almost right at $4,000 an ounce again. Yes, we've traded below. We haven't traded below 3,900. The lowest I've seen gold was in the lower 3,900s, 3,920, 3,930, and it's gotten above 4,000. I think it got to 4,020, 4,030 this week. It's been hanging out at that area. No, the craziest thing I think that happened in Bitcoin on the week is what's her name? Cathie Wood. From ARK Investment, reduced her 2030 price target for Bitcoin from 1.5 million to 1.2 million. Now, first of all, that's not a forecast. That's just a wild guess. How does Cathie Wood have any idea what Bitcoin is going to be worth in 4 or 5 years? She has no clue. So she's just guessing. And so she was guessing 1.5 million, and now she's guessing 1.2 million. But what's even crazier than the guess and the fact that she bothered to reduce it, because, why bother? She said she just found out that people prefer using stable coins to Bitcoin. Like, didn't she know that? Who the hell uses Bitcoin? She's talking about in transactions. Yes, of course they prefer stable coins. They're much easier to use than Bitcoin. So because she just discovered that people aren't really using Bitcoin, she doesn't think it's going to go up quite as much. So it's only going to go up 12x as opposed to 15x. Well, it's actually going down. It's going a lot lower. And all of this leverage that's being built up beneath the market is one of the reasons that this next decline is going to be horrific. And I think, once they throw in the towel around this 100,000 level, it's going to implode. And, all this, of course, is not going to reflect well on the Trump administration, given the fact that they've hitched their wagon to Bitcoin. And so as Bitcoin fails, and the whole Trump family is in this business, it's just going to be another negative on Trump. If the tariffs are removed, that's actually a good thing for the Trump administration for 2 reasons. One, the recession won't be as bad without the tariff, because the tariffs are actually harming the economy. They are not helping it. Right? The economy is bad. It would have been bad even without the tariffs, but it's worse with them. So number one, if the court throws out the tariffs, not only are they doing the right thing, but it'll actually be a net positive for the economy. But number two, and probably more important for Trump, it provides Trump with another scapegoat. See, right now, his main scapegoat has been the Fed. Too late, pal, right? That idiot, that moron, right? That low IQ person, too late, pal. He's got interest rates too high. He hasn't cut them enough. So he's already set Powell up to be the fall guy, right? We're probably already in recession. Look, we've been in recession for a while, and we'd probably know it maybe if the government wasn't shut down, because, we're not getting a lot of data. And my guess is the data we're not getting is very weak. And so Trump is probably happy that the bad news isn't being delivered. But in addition to blaming Powell for the recession, say, look, everything was great, but the damn Fed screwed it all up. If they had only cut rates like I told them, right? Because Trump has said he knows more than anybody at the Fed, right? He should really be in charge of the Fed because, he's that smart. But unfortunately, we have these low IQ people and they don't know what they're doing, and they haven't cut rates. So he could blame the Fed that if it wasn't for the Fed, we'd have a great economy. We had a great economy, but the Fed ruined it, right, by not cutting rates. But now he's going to have the Supreme Court as another scapegoat, because the Supreme Court strikes down his tariffs. The economy is in recession. Maybe officially the numbers come out, and Trump says the Supreme Court did it. We had this great economy, and the Supreme Court pulled the rug out from under it. They put a knife in it by doing such a reckless and irresponsible thing as repealing, my signature issue, right? They keep saying that, hey, the Supreme Court should give Trump some leeway here, because he campaigned on this. This is his signature issue. It doesn't matter. If his signature issue is unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional. You got to take the politics out of it. The Supreme Court is not supposed to decide whether or not the tariffs are good or bad. The Supreme Court is supposed to decide, are the tariffs taxes, which they are taxes, and does the president have the power to impose them? And I don't care if you want to claim it's an emergency. And, I expected the mood to be even more jubilant than it was, considering how much the price of gold had risen between the conference a year ago and the conference this past week, and in particular, the gold mining stocks, because it's really a conference dominated by mining stocks. Almost all the exhibitors in the exhibit hall are gold and silver mining companies, with a few others, thrown in there, but the vast majority are mining companies, and pretty much all the attendees invest in gold and silver mining companies in addition to the physical metal. And, given where we were, I expected even more enthusiasm than I saw. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit more upbeat than it was a year ago when there was a lot more despair and frustration. And of course, a year ago was a great time to be buying gold and silver stocks. But I heard a lot of people talking about taking profits, selling. There was some worried people about the drop. You know, gold had almost hit 4,400, and they're talking about that big drop, and maybe it's going lower, which of course is what happens in a bull market. You get these violent sell-offs to scare people out. But the